Hello everyone, my name is Chuanwen and my topic is about language attrition among Chinese bilinguals in Australia. What was new to me? Here we'll look at some definitions about language attrition. The first one is it refers to the loss of language functions, forms, and skills in individuals over time. And the second is why L2 immersion can be beneficial to approach a native accent in the L2. The associated reduced L1 use may cause linguistic abilities in the L1 to deteriorate, a phenomenon known as L1 attrition. The third one is the process of the difficulty of accessing a language due to changes in the social linguistic environment. And we can find something in common of these definitions, which is the loss of original language ability because of using the other or changes of the language environment. And here is a more detailed one. We refer to any of the phenomena that arise in the native language of a sequential bilingual as a sequence of the co-activation of languages, cross-linguistic transfer or disuse at any stage of second language development and use as language attrition. But basically, we can see that language attrition is a process where the first language suffers from language transfer, disuse, or becomes less accessible due to the immersion of the second language. Here is a model frequently mentioned when it comes to language attrition and shift, which is called cascade model. The main idea is that the best input the next generation can have is the already impoverished version of the language used by the previous generation, which means the best language input you can get from your parents is already a reduced one. We need to know that language attrition happens within the generation and the language shift happens between generations. So the knowledge of the language is reduced first in the previous generation and then further reduced when it is passed down. The model shows the results of both of them. Here is an example. Say a Chinese international student in Australia who speaks English every day in studying and life context. Before coming to Australia, he or she rarely said a sentence like 认为, except in formal context or to emphasize something. Usually we say 我认为我不, I think I don't do something. But after immersion in English context and saying lots of sentences like I don't think I like vegetables, I don't think I in daily life, he or she may use more of the sentence structure in Chinese daily conversation. This may sound normal when you are in an EC bilingual context and you may not be aware of that yourself or to others, but it sounds weird for Chinese who don't speak English much. So, the more the Chinese language is in close contact with English at the local level, the more bilingual speakers there are, the more likely it is that the variant or brainwave will be used. Here's another example of language attrition, or it's called lexical attrition, more specifically. 你可以帮我开一下 aircon，这个 lift 太慢了。This is a mix of English and Chinese. Usually, the speaker cannot retrieve the word in his or her first language immediately, and instead he or she retrieves the word in the second language to make the sentence to flow smoothly. And here, we can see the example below. 你在干什么？没干什么, just chilling. We don't we don't call it language attrition here because we say it usually we cannot find a suitable equivalent here in our first language, not because we forget the expression in our first language. And here's the future directions. Based on the observed scenarios, the future research will narrow its focus to specific types of L1 Chinese attrition among Chinese international students in Australia. The first one is the overuse of the direct translation structure, like 我不认为 in daily Chinese conversation, which is a transfer from the English syntactic pattern. The second one is the phenomenon of lexical code mixing, such as directly using English words like acorn and lift in spoken Chinese due to insufficient retrieval of the native Chinese equivalent. And the future research question would be, does more daily English immersion among Chinese international students in Australia accelerate lexical and syntactic attrition in their first language, Chinese? Here comes the rationale. Existing studies on L1 attrition mainly focus on European language pairs, such as Dutch and German. This insufficient empirical research on Chinese English bilingual attrition, especially the syntactic and lexical transfer patterns among Chinese students in Australian contexts. With a large Chinese immigrants and student population in Australia, L1 Chinese attrition has become a common phenomenon. It affects daily communication, cultural identity, and the language teaching practice. More researches can be carried on to provide evidence for maintaining L1 proficiency in bilingual settings. Yes, a conclusion. I used to believe that L1 is stable and will not be weakened. Now I realize L1 attrition is a normal cognitive and social linguistic process caused by reduced use and cross-linguistic activation. This concept helps me analyze language transfer and mix utterances in classroom observations and real-life bilingual interactions more accurately. In future language teaching, I will design activities to arouse students' awareness to slow down attrition and promote balanced bilingual development. And this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Here's my references. Thank you.